Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we're going to be talking about Vnish, talking about how that can benefit your miners. If you're using Bitmain, you're on S19s, S21s, L7s, various other types of Bitmain miners. If you're using those and you're looking for great firmware to use for your miners, increase your efficiency, increase your revenue, if you're looking for all of that, then Vnish is one of the great firmware options you have out there. So you don't have to stick just with Bitmain, you can get something better. So we'll be talking about that, as well as giving you guys an update on North Dakota. We do have some updates there as well. So if you're interested in that, you know what to do. Hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and go to cryptollc.org. If you're looking to buy miners, sell some miners, if you're looking to host your miners, you're looking to maybe build your own farm or jump in with us in North Dakota, you can do all of that at cryptollc.org. Before we get started, Bitcoin saves your wealth and Jesus Christ saves your soul. All right, well, today's video I am filming from a park. This is one of those preserve parks, so they keep the nature like mostly preserved. They have a little garden out here, but mostly it is just kind of like wilderness, Florida's wilderness. That's some recording from here. And I guess maybe the first thing I'll start off with is actually with the North Dakota, because there is a little update there. And the update is we have completed fully the grading. It's fully done now, confirmed with the engineer and everything. And we do have, you can see there, 3 containers. We dropped those. Those are storing like our tools and various other items that we need for our North Dakota project there. And you can see the car driving around, the truck there. That's the engineer. So the engineer, he would be he's driving around getting confirming the dimensions, all that, and also getting a topography. So he needs to one of the requirements is you have to get soil samples and topography done for the site. So he needs to drive around I guess pinpoint things or whatever he's doing, but that needs to be done for the water board. So that is what he's doing. And so yeah, it's going good there. Probably get out of these wildernesses and stepped in too far. He's good with all that, so everything's going according to plan. And then part of the plan is to have everything ready for the water board meeting, which would be on, I think, like the middle of February, like the 11th or something like that, or 10th of February. That's when the water board meeting will be set. And then once we pass that, we're golden after that. So yeah, everything going according to plan. Everything is good there in North Dakota. Okay, now let's go to Vnish. So for Vnish, so some of the benefits of running Vnish, right? Because you might be wondering, hey, I'm running Bitmain right now. Like, why would I run Vnish, right? What benefit does it give me to run Vnish? So the main benefit it'll give you is it'll give you increased stability. It'll give you increased performance. And it'll give you just increased overall compatibility with various hash boards, control boards, and power supplies. So with Bitmain, if you take a hash board and let's say you have a control board laying around from a different model of miner, you can't just plug in a different hash board to that control board. You have to plug in exactly the correct hash board for that control board. So compatibility with Bitmain is basically 0. You need to run exactly as prescribed. If you do not have the correct control board matching up with the correct hash board, it will not work. So you have that problem with compatibility. And with Vnish will just run it anyway. You install it, Vnish sees, hey, this is a control board from an S19, but you're plugging in S19Ks. That's different, but Vnish doesn't care. Vnish will just run it anyway, because technically, from a software standpoint, it does not matter. Why would it matter? I don't think Bitmain programmed that into those control boards, and Bitmain doesn't really care about those type of situations. So they'll just say error, you can't do this, it doesn't understand the hash board because you plug into the control board, and then the Bitmain is expecting S19s, but then you're plugging S19Ks, things like that. Also power supplies. So for some miners, they actually require like an A version power supply. So you have your power supplies like 115, blah blah blah. Then at the very end it'll say like A or B or C or D or E or F. Those are versions of the power supply. And so what happens is you plug in an A, but A does not work with this different version of S19K, which might be an S19K manufactured in 2024, it doesn't work with any power supply other than power supply E or F. But you don't have E or F, you have A's. And so now it's not going to work. Now it's going to say error, your power supply is not compatible. So you have to plug in the exact power supply as well. And so if you have power supplies laying around from some older version of K's, and you can't run them with the newer version of K's. So we saw these issues with the S19 Pro series, where it had that problem. It'll only run on certain versions. And with Vnish doesn't care. Vnish will just be like, hey, you got a power supply that gives you 12 volts, and it has the amount of watts that you require. It's fine. It'll just run it. So those are the benefits. Compatibility. Then you have stability. So how stable is your miner? So I'll give you some things that Vnish does that's better than Bitmain. So Vnish has a special feature in the software where if it's very, very cold outside, like it's minus 30, right? And you boot your miner on. So your miner is fully frozen, let's say, or it's been sitting in the cold for like 2 hours. And then you turn your miner on. What Vnish does is it heats up the chips. It keeps checking the temperature on the chips and make sure that they heat up slowly. They don't heat up too fast, because if you have very cold weather and then you're heating up your chips too fast, you can actually eventually cause damage to them. If you keep doing that and over again, year after year, you're going to cause damage with expanding and contracting of those solders, and the chips and all that stuff. So you don't want that to happen. So what Vnish does is slowly heats up the chips, brings them up to a reasonable level, and then at that point, once it does that, it says, okay, now that they're warm, let's start mining. So Vnish will just have a more, I would say like a softer approach to mining, more taking care of the board. So if you actually use these boards, like especially in North Dakota in a super cold environment, you would be way better off running Vnish than you are running Bitmain. Now, obviously, if you're running, these miners like in, say, Texas, and it's not that cold over there, and it never gets really that cold, then it doesn't matter to you in terms of that type of stability, right? So that's one very, very, very important stability feature. Another one is just the stability of connection. The miner always stays connected. We see the drops in the miner, like miner connected to the pool. You can see the drops. Sometimes Bitmain will have more drops. Bitmain, let's say, fans. So another one is fans. So if you lose a fan on Bitmain miner, your whole entire miner will stop mining. So you don't want that to happen either, especially if you are in a cold environment. Because if you are in a cold environment and it's very cold outside, right, it's minus 10, minus 20, minus 30, you lose a fan, your miner will still be fine because it's so cold. The 3 fans that you have left out of 4, right, you lost 1, the 3 fans you have left out of 4, they'll be able to handle cooling off your miner without any issue, right? They'll still be able to handle, even at full load, because it's so cold outside. And so what will happen is, with Bitmain, if you lose a fan, your miner just goes down. And so your tech has to come out there and fix it, which takes time, which means that if your miner is down for 2 hours, well, you just lost 2 hours worth of mining, right? You just lost some money right there. And then if you have that going on all the time, let's say you keep losing a fan, or you got like, a big farm, you got like 10 megawatts, so you're losing fans every day because you get so many miners that you'll have dead fans every single day. At that level, your tech will just be running around replacing all these fans all the time, and you always have something down, something broken, and all that. With Vnish will just keep running. You tell the miner, hey, don't stop mining even if I lose a fan, because what you're looking for is is the miner overheating. So you'll just change the setting in Vnish and tell the miner, hey, I want you to turn off if you hit a certain Celsius on the chip. So let's say it's usually default to 90. So what you're going to tell Vnish is going to say, hey, Vnish, if I lose a fan, keep mining, only turn off if the miner starts overheating, which means that the only time of the year your miner will actually turn off, where it actually can handle cooling off itself with 3 fans, is going to be like in the summertime. The rest of the year, fall, spring, winter, especially winter, 3 fans is absolutely fine, right? You have plenty of volume of air that's traveling through that miner, cooling it off, so you don't have any issues there. So that's the other one. These are great features. These are like, maybe some of you might not understand how important it is, but when you're running thousands of miners, it is very important. It saves a lot of time. It's a lot better for a tech to just log in after, let's say 2 weeks, and just because there's like maybe already 10 dead fans, right? It's a lot better for the tech to just log in after 2 weeks and then just be like, okay, now I'll replace all 10 at once, right? I'll just dedicate an hour. I'm gonna walk around and replace all these 10 dead fans all at the same time. That's a lot faster and easier for the tech to manage that type of situation, right, than it is for the tech to run around every single day looking for, like, oh no, I lost a fan here, the miner's down, I gotta fix that. Oh, I lost another miner, now I gotta run to the other container across the field, right, and fix that one. And then, oh, this one died at right before I left to work, and now I can't leave work, right? I have to run back and fix this other dead fan, and so on. So those are the situations you have with that. And then, of course, performance. So performance, now I don't know if I'm actually hitting all the stability points. It's probably more. I'm just going off the top of my head. And then in terms of performance, so for performance, you're also going to have huge increases in performance. This does not apply to all miners though, right? To tell you the truth, it's not all miners, because we did tests on S21 Pro. We did tests on those, and they did not have any really significant improvement in performance. Maybe they had like half a point of efficiency, which is still good, right? It's good enough to run Vnish, but you're not getting like severe improvements in performance. You're not saving hundreds of watts by running Vnish like you do on the S19 J Pros, S19s. You're conserving less energy. So it looks like, I'm probably guessing maybe the closer you get to zero, how the closer you get to zero, the harder it is to save more energy. So it looks to me like that since S19s, they're starting off at 30 watts a terahash, and then you can save like 5, because it's easier to save 30. From 30 to 25, it's a lot easier to save that 5. But then when you're getting into the S21 Pros, now you're starting off at like 18 or 17 or whatever it is, and then you want to save something. It's going to be harder to save. It's going to be a lot harder to go from 18 to 13. You know what I mean? But you do save some. So for some miners, it's not. But then again, the other thing that could be happening is these are brand new miners. The S21 Pros, these are brand new miners, and maybe because they are brand new, they haven't been fully like optimized on Vnish. Maybe in the future they will have a greater savings. But anyway, I just want to throw that out there, because not all miners, but this benefits severely miners like the S19J Pro, S19, huge savings, S19Ks, and then S19 XP, somewhat. And then when you get down to the S21s, you're still saving some, but not as much. So you have the savings there, and the savings justifies the fee. There is a 2.8% Vnish fee. And so if you're thinking, well, does it justify that fee? Yes, it does. It does justify that fee, because the savings you're going to get in stability, connectivity, performance, right? You're saving energy, which means you can run your miner a little bit faster for the same amount of power. So all those things combined do justify that 2.8. Let's see other things in performance. So again, we love to bring up this example. One of the greatest, most highlighted example we bring up for Vnish is going to be the S19J Pro. So the S19J Pros, they start off at 30 watts a terahash. If you run them at full blast, you're going to be getting about 28 watts a terahash. So you're going to save two or three, about like that 27, 28. That's a full blast, right? Or you can actually overclock and still get 30 watts a terahash, but now you're overclocking it. You're going to get like an extra 5 terahash for free. That's a big one. And then obviously if you go down to like low power mode on S19J Pro, then you can get 23 watts a terahash, or even less. When it's very, very cold outside and you're running in low power mode, you can actually get down to 22.5, even like another half a point when your fans are barely spinning because it's so cold outside, and then your target is 55. So those things really justify Vnish hugely. This is why we run Vnish. We tell all of our clients to run Vnish, and this is why we also make it like a requirement to run Vnish for some of our clients. If they're looking to jump in, maybe they want to build a farm somewhere, and they say, hey, what should we do? It's like, yeah, run Vnish. It's the best. Basically, it's the very, very best. And then let's see. A couple of other things I wanted to mention is the temp sensor errors. You know, sometimes you guys get like temp sensor errors. You get like you have your hash boards, they're running, they don't have any issues, right? And then for some reason, one of the hash boards just goes offline. You're like, what the heck's going on? Why did I lose this hash board? Because now my whole miner is down if you're running like Bitmain firmware. And so at that point, you log into the logs, you take a look, and then you figure out, oh, it's because the temp sensor on the miner went bad. So because of that temp sensor going down, my whole mining rig went down, right? All the boards went down. So you need to fix that temp sensor. So you got to unplug the board and plug something else in. And so in that situation, right, what Vnish created was a temp sensor ignore feature, which is really, really good because basically you have 4 temp sensors on your hash boards. Usually, pretty much all of them have 4 temp sensors. And so if you lose a temp sensor, or if it's glitching out, like sometimes it'll say, hey, you know, let's say your target is 55C, right? And your temp sensor is showing like 500, right? Obviously it's glitching out. It's not 500C. But because of that, your whole entire rig will go down because you lost a temp sensor. So what Vnish did was they said, hey, let's ignore those if you want to, which we also recommend. We tell all of our miners to ignore that because what happens is if you lose 1 temp sensor, you still have 3 more. And then also you have 4 more on the other 2 boards. So basically you have a total of 4 times 3, right? Which is going to be 12 temp sensors. You have 12 temp sensors. You lose one of those temp sensors, you're not going to base your cooling, you know, data set like based off of 1 being lost, right? You're gonna be like, hey, I got 12, I lost 1, so what? The other 11 are reliable. They're gonna tell me if the miner's overheating. I don't need to freak out because I lost 1 temp sensor, which is correct. That is correct, that is logical, and that's what we do here at Crypto LLC. We tell them to ignore that. So we never had any, by the way, we never had all these years ever had any hash board fry because of firmware, ever, by the way. Never has that happened. We had a couple of years ago, we did have a hash board that fried, but it was running Bitmain firmware. And it was just, you know, I was like, I was at the mining farm, and then it just smell like, you know, fried plastic or metal or whatever. You know, that smell, like really, really stinky smell. And I thought it was a fire. So I was looking around where that's coming from. And then eventually I found it, and it was just one of the hash boards right in the center, that center hash board. One of the, next to the connections, just something exploded there, like whatever it was, it fried. And I looked into the miner and I saw it on fire. So I unplugged it and then took out the hash board, and it's just, for some reason, something exploded on it, just burnt to death. It really, literally just fried. It's done. There's no way you're gonna fix that. That happened once, I think, in the past like 4 years, maybe twice in the past, not even 4 years, like 6 years. In the past like 6 years, it's happened like twice out of all the boards. And it did not happen on Vnish. It actually happened on Bitmain. So that gives you an idea of how reliable actually Bitmain is. It's not a bad firmware, you know. Out of all these years, that's all that happened. But it also gives you an idea how that never has happened on Vnish. Let's see, what else can I throw in there for Vnish? Reasons for Vnish. Let's see, still thinking here. I know there's all those features in there. Obviously the profile switching, you want to have that. So let's talk about profile switching. So profile switching is like this. If you're in a hot environment, let's give you an example. Let's say you're in Texas, right? You're in Texas, you're in a hot environment, and you're running your miners full blast, right? They're running 200 terahash on the S21s, right? You got 200 terahash, you're in Texas. What happens when outside temperatures start going up? So let's say your miner can handle 70 degrees, right? At 70 degrees, your fan speeds are 100%. I'm just giving you an idea. I don't know for sure. Let's say at 70 degrees, your miner is running at 100% fan speed. It's cooling itself off, but it's right at that 70 degrees. Any higher than 70, your miner still continues to run at 100% fan speed, but your efficiency starts dropping because your miner starts overheating. Well, not overheating, but slowly heating up. So let's say your target is 70 degrees Celsius on those chips on the S21s, and then your fan speed is 100% and 70 degrees. Once you start going to 71, 72, 73, your percentage on your fan can't increase any faster, right? Your fan's already going at 100%, so it can't increase anything. So what happens is your chip starts going up. So now your chip is going from 70 degrees to 71, to 72, to 73. And what happens is your hash boards at 70 degrees is when they got their maximum efficiency. Anything above 70, they're going to start losing efficiency. So now they're slowly losing efficiency. So now instead of giving you like 18 watts a terahash, now it's going to go up to 18 and a half watts a terahash, and it's going to go to 19 watts a terahash, and it's going to go to 19 and a half, then it's going to go to 20, and so on. And so when you get up to, like, if it gets hot in Texas and it's 95, 100 degrees outside, now your miner is barely handling it, right? It's still running. Your chips are now like 87, 88, so they're almost overheated. They're still running though, they're not turning off, right? But now your efficiency is not 18, it's like 20, 21, maybe even 22, something like that. It's a huge loss of efficiency. So what Vnish does is it gives you profile switching. So for profile switching, it'll say, hey, you set the parameters in there. You tell it, hey, if your fan speed is more than 100% or 100% or more, right? And the temperature is higher than my preset temperature, so I tell it, hey, I don't want you to go past 70. If that happens, bring down the profile by 1, which means it'll start mining at a low profile. So instead of giving you 200 terahash, it'll start mining at 190 terahash, and then 180 terahash, 170 terahash, and so on. And so what happens is, if you're in Texas, you're never going to have that issue, right? You're never going to be inefficient. Also, you're never going to fry your miner, right? If you're worried about, hey, I don't want my miner to run at 88C on the chip, I don't want my miner to do that, right? Vnish will allow your miner not to do that, because you're going to tell Vnish, hey, just go down a profile, right? Temperature starts going up, it becomes 80 degrees outside, and then Vnish would be like, okay, we're going to go down 2 profiles to handle 80. So now it went down 2 profiles, so you lost, 20 terahash out of the 200. You lost 20 terahash, but your chips are still 70, right? Your fan speed's 100, but your chips are still 70. So none of your chips went past 70 ever, the whole entire day. It always just dropped a profile, so it always kept at 70 on the chip, and then that means that your miner is increasing its life expectancy, right? It's living a lot longer. It's lasting you a lot longer than it would otherwise. And then obviously you have your miner just always sticking around at that 70, which means your fan speed sometimes will actually come down as well, because it might take down a profile, but your fan speeds don't need 100 anymore, they need like 95 or 90. So there's benefits of that as well, that your whole entire farm is not crazy, running at 100% fan speed the whole entire day, because let's say it became 90 degrees outside at 10 a.m. and then it's going to be 90 all the way until 10 p.m., which means your miners are running 100% fan speed at 87 degrees on the chip for 12 hours straight. You know what I mean? That scenario, you can remove that scenario from your mining farm, right? By running Vnish, you can remove that scenario and you don't have to worry about that. So those are all the benefits of doing things like that. And so that's huge for us as well. We do this for all of our clients, and then they have their increased efficiency. And again, like losing 5, 10, 20 terahash for a couple hours a day, or maybe for 6 hours a day is like whatever. It doesn't change really much. But increasing your life expectancy on the miners, that helps a lot, right? You don't have your dead boards going down. You don't have to ship them for repairs. You don't have to do any of that, and then they last a lot longer. So you can run them for a longer time without having to repair them. So those are all the benefits of Vnish. And there's probably more. So if you guys wanted to watch maybe more, I gave you guys a pretty good detailed explanation for Vnish. Oh, by the way, lastly, before I end this video, is Vnish and Braiins. So the reason why we don't use Braiins, and we did before, the reason why we don't use Braiins is because when we use Braiins, we had connection issues, and so the miner would just keep disconnecting. And I was talking to their tech support team and trying to figure out what's going on. And so every single time I talked to their tech support team, they had this attitude of, I talked to them and they're like, it's not happening. We don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, well, here's the logs. They're like, yeah, something's going on. It's probably your computer. Yeah, something's going on. It's your internet. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty good at networking. I'm pretty good at networking. I'm a computer programmer. I know what I'm doing. I know it's not the network. How come Bitmain ran, without issue? How come when I run Bitmain right next to this miner, I have your Braiins miner? This miner does not create any loss of pool connections, the Bitmain one, but your Braiins miner does. It just keeps losing connections. So how can that be? They're literally on the same switch. And so they just blame like, oh no, it's your internet, it's your computer. Then they even had like these excuses such as, oh well, if you use Linux, then you would have better, management of your farm. Like, if you use, like, what the heck does Linux have to do with running a Bitcoin farm? That's a joke. Okay, that's a joke. No, we've been running Windows at all our farms for years and years and years and years and years. Never had a single issue, a single problem. So this is the attitude they have. And then so they never fix that. They just whatever. And then also the compatibility. So they come out and they say, hey, this miner is not compatible with this power supply. I have to give them the logs, and they have to add it. They did all that for us. Like, they kept adding those things. Like, I'm like, hey, this doesn't work. They're like, oh, your control board's not compatible. I'm like, why is it not compatible? Just add it to your list of compatible control boards. Make it run with this S19J Pro. Make this control board run. So they add it. But why am I doing this, right? Why am I talking like this with Braiins? This is common sense. Just add all the control boards, all the power supplies to your list of compatible devices. But they're not doing that. With Vnish, I never had to do that. I never had to email them or actually telegram them and say, hey guys, can you guys add this control board? Never, because every single time I plug it in, it just works. So that's the difference between them. Let's see what else they have. And then their profile switcher wasn't as good. Their efficiency, we checked, is not better. It's like as good as Vnish, their efficiency, but it's not better. So it's like there's no point to that. They don't have as many features. I don't think they have that cold start thing. Maybe they do now. They haven't used it for like more than a year now. But just things like that, and it's like, yeah, whatever. It's just with their attitude, and then also at the very end when I was talking to them, they were like, well, your number one problem is that you're not using Linux. And just imagine that your number one problem is you're not using Linux. Yeah, that's the reason the mining farm doesn't work. It's because I'm not using Linux. They didn't say, hey, go use a Mac. They didn't say that. They said, no, you're not using Linux, not a Mac, not a Windows. Because in their eyes, it's like, basically it's more, I got the feeling from Braiins that they're like, I don't know, like a religious cult or something like that. Because instead of trying to sell me Braiins, right, instead of trying to convince me to use Braiins, they're trying to convince me to use Linux. You know what I mean? That's what it looked like. They're trying to convince me to use Linux. And they start arguing about how great Linux is and all that. And I was like, dude, like, I'm a customer, right? I'm a customer. And I provide you guys all this information, trying to make your guys' Braiins even better. But instead of working with a customer, you guys are trying to sell me Linux, which is not what you guys sell. You guys are selling firmware for miners. Why are you trying to pitch me Linux? And it's like, what's going on? Like, yeah, whatever. They look like they're like Linux fanboys, you know what I mean? And again, it's not even Mac. It's not that they hate Windows. It's like they hate Windows and they hate Mac and they just love Linux. So anyway, we never had that problem with Vnish. Vnish, you go to their website, you can just download their Windows software immediately. By the way, they didn't have that for Braiins. Braiins, you had to download their Linux software, and then you had to use an emulator on Windows to run their software, because they were so dedicated and so religious about a software, right? They're so dedicated about it to the point where they're like, you know what, we're not even going to create Windows software to run Braiins. We're going to force you to use Linux. We're going to make you run it in a containerized form, so that way we're going to force you to do it, and then you're going to switch over to Linux. And it's, oh my goodness, that was crazy with them. So yeah, not good. Now they released their Windows version, but this was like 2 years ago, I think, when they didn't even have that. So that's why. So we have like a huge, I was like, nah, no, not with you guys. Oh, by the way, before I go, so the other firmware is Luxor they have there. So if you're thinking about, hey, maybe I should try Luxor. We never tried Luxor, and the reason for that is because they have like a huge fee. It's like 4% on Luxor last time we checked. So we never tried it, and we pretty much got everything we wanted from Vnish. But we're not against trying Luxor. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll try it out and see how it goes, and see if we get better efficiency, and see if we get better features on Luxor than Vnish. But then again, they have to lower their fee. 4% is too much for firmware. But yeah, hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That's gonna be it for this one. And until next time, goodbye.